Welcome to another edition of the Community Foundation of Middlesex County's pop-up grant videos, where we get to meet incredible nonprofits doing remarkable things, not only in our footprint, but actually all over the Northeast, thanks to our partners at Whelen Engineering. We're joined today by Will Simoneau from TecGym, and they're located up in Vermont. Everybody's probably thinking, why is the Community Foundation talking to someone in Vermont? And that's thanks again to our partners at Whelen Engineering, because this pop-up grant is through their pop-up grant initiative they do for their employees in partnership with us. And a big shout out to John Keefe, who nominated you there we go. Yay! Yep. Wonderful. So we will give a big shout out to John Keefe for making it possible for us to get to know you, Will. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. This is so cool.
So let's start off because I'm sure everybody is thinking to themselves, Tech Gym. What is Tech Gym? So tell us a little bit about Tech Gym.
So we're a small nonprofit, sort of a production company in Springfield, Vermont. Although we serve really the whole region within about a 2 hours drive of us. We go all over, really New England, up to Maine and New Hampshire and Massachusetts, even down to Connecticut and into New York. Um,
Wow.
and and what we mostly do is film youth sports, right? So everything from parks and rec level, middle school, high school, varsity, and we do some big tournaments, like travel teams, things like that. Um, and we make that available for free to the public to watch. See, there's a lot of cool platforms that film youth sports, but they're like behind a paywall where you have to, be a subscriber or a member in order to view it. And that might work for some folks. And we actually do contribute to some of those platforms, the ones that are sort of connected to the schools, the National Federation of High Schools, things like that. But we want to make it free for everyone else that can't necessarily have a subscription. Yeah, and so we do that. And we're kind of always growing and adding new things. We just added live commentary recently, so now in addition to filming the games, we have somebody doing play-by-play and color commentary, and I'm really excited. I was actually just today in Springfield High School. We're starting a broadcast club there where students can use some of their class time and get volunteer service hours for after school, going and helping to set up and learning how to use the cameras and filming the games. And was actually just texting with the basketball coach over in Claremont about setting up a program there because last year we followed some of their games, but it's hard for me to be in so many places. So we're trying to teach these students to, have a club that they kind of run. And like this group of students follows the basketball team. This group of students follows the football team. This group of students follows the soccer team. And so they can broadcast not only their home, but hopefully eventually their away games. So that's what we're trying to do.
That is phenomenal. And I love the idea of partnering with the high schools and creating clubs, because a lot of these kids, I bet this would be something that they are already interested in and would want to pursue. So what a great thing to actually put on your resume.
And then we make highlights for families that want them, where like we'll do the best moments of a kid's game or of their whole season. And we even kind of make player profiles online where kids can sort of document and have a place where all their sort of sports history online lives. And I mean, some of them are just using that for fun mementos, that they can keep and look back on over the years. But some are using them to share with coaches that they might want to play for in travel clubs or potentially even for colleges. And yeah.
Wow.
And Will, how long ago did you start Tech Gym?
Um, we, I think we registered in July of 2023, but I'd been filming for a couple years before that in sort of an unorganized way. Very unorganized.
Well, how do people get in touch with you if they want you to come to their school?
So we have a website. It's techgym, TECGYM.net. We have a YouTube page as well, YouTube at Tech Gym Sports. Um, and then my contact info is right on there. And yeah, sometimes schools reach out to us, sometimes families reach out to us and say, "Hey, can you follow my kid?" There's a Claremont family that when the grandparents are out of town, they say, "Hey, can you, we're not going to make this game. Can you come over and film it for us?" And so we can watch it. And,
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And we're always looking for, occasionally we'll have parents that'll say, "Hey, can you follow my kid?" And I don't necessarily have the availability, but I'll say, "Here, I'll get you a camera and a tripod and show you how to use it. You take the stuff, you film your kid and I'll put it on YouTube for you.
Nice.
I saw on your website, Will, that you have visions for a physical location that looks like it encompasses a lot of different aspects. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So that's the big dream. When my kids started playing travel ball and I went to some of these places that they didn't have this stuff when I was a kid. But these big competition facilities, and they usually have a training component built in where, they have all sorts of cool stuff. I thought, wouldn't that be great in our community? Because we have a really strong sports culture in this kind of valley. And but a lot of everyone's traveling a couple hours to get to these tournaments. And I know even for between the schools and the recs, they have a hard time finding enough basketball courts to play on, enough soccer fields, and there's only so much daylight. So I thought, wouldn't it be great? I mean, there's so much empty real estate in this area. Old industrial places that are closed down, and there's empty footprints now. Wouldn't it be great to build a facility there where we could bring people into the community and they could have these big competitions? I mean, every weekend there's tournaments everywhere. And it could also be a place where, there could be overflow when they need extra space to train, but also people could come and there's a lot of really dedicated athletes that want to train regularly. And actually, the whole idea and we were just talking about this in the club at the school today too, the whole idea of TecGym, before we even got into athletics, it was actually more focused on like esports. Like at that time, my kids were video gamers. Some of them took it pretty seriously. And I thought, like, wouldn't it be cool? Because like I saw that like all these kids were in their bedrooms talking to each other online as they're playing a game, and I thought, and it was kind of disconnected. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was a physical place you could go to and everybody could be playing these same games together and talking on their headsets together, but then they could turn around and high five and go sit down and share a pizza together, right? And actually have some social, and the parents could be there too, and it could be a fun thing. So even now that we've incorporated and really shifted the focus toward athletics, I still think a lot of these places that you go to, they have like a video arcade, like the old school, put in a quarter and play a video game. They have that stuff. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we also had, a whole bunch of high-end gaming PCs where kids could be playing esports, right? There are Division I colleges now are giving scholarships for esports. There are high schools, right, that have esports teams, right? And because not everybody is a physical type of athlete, but they still want to be competitive in these ways. And it is a lot of fun. So we could have a component for that too. And also those same devices could be used for streaming, for editing highlights of the athletics, and kids could be kind of doing, they do a little editing and then they play a little video games and maybe even do a little homework. Who knows?
No, they're probably all out there thinking, no, you can leave the homework component off.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, it sounds very much to like a vision of a community space that brings people together, not only because they're maybe training or they're playing games, but I appreciated looking around your website with the vision because you really also focused on the family concept. And so it gave an opportunity to have the families do different things together or be there to support their kids, but be out with them. And which we all know happens quite a bit on the sidelines of the youth sports. But I think
Mhm.
even incorporating it into the online gaming, or even, you never know, you might find a parent who had always seen themselves as a child being a great media editor, right? And they never got to pursue that. So you never know, you could end up with that as well.
And there definitely are job opportunities too. Like even some of the students in the club, after they fulfill their volunteer service hours, the school is hiring them to be like team leaders,
Yeah.
right? And then and I've told them like, you can come back and have a part-time job doing this because there's a lot of work out there. So.
So just out of curiosity, because I really do love the fact that not only are you doing the filming and the posting, but that you're finding ways to engage the kids, particularly at school clubs, and that it can count towards their community service hours, which I think is a phenomenal way to help them stay engaged, particularly if they're not an athlete themselves. So Does it have to be a school near you, or is it similar to the other things that you do with filming school sports or working with parents that would film it? If let's say there was a high school in our footprint and the kids, somebody saw this and they thought, wow, that would be really cool to start at my school. Is it something that you can help mentor virtually as well as in person, or does it need to be be groups of students near you?
That's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that, but it's certainly, I mean, we all learned that you can do a lot through Zoom and online. I could absolutely guide someone through the process of setting all that stuff up
Yeah.
and support them that way.
I just think
Yeah.
you now you have a great template. You've already done it, and you have the template right there of encouraging other schools and groups to think about doing that. So,
And Will, how many volunteers do you have now that help you?
It depends on the day. Some days I'm doing four things at once. And I think today in the club, this was the very first official meeting of the club in Springfield High School. And we had four students, although nine at like a club fair the other day, nine signed up and said they were interested. So we meet twice a week there during the day. So we'll see if the rest show up next time.
Yeah.
And then there are so what happens a lot is I'll go to a game and I'll say, or there'll be like for instance, we had a summer league basketball. So 4 nights a week over the summer, people were all getting together in Ludlow, Vermont and playing basketball. And I would regularly just look at the stands and be like, who's a family supporting this team? And everyone would kind of raise their hand. I'd be like, you hop on the mic. You're going to help commentary, right? And that person's a volunteer for the day, right? And then there would be kids. And actually, some of the kids were fantastic. The kids would be like, they'd finish their game. And I'd be like, hey, come on over here, hop on a mic. And they'd sit right there and they'd talk. And I'd be like, so how was that? And it was great.
Fun.
oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That is truly phenomenal. I think that's terrific. Oh, what fun. Now, how long?
We're
I
having
have
a
to
good
say,
time.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, we're having a great time with it. Yeah.
That's great. Now, Jennifer asked you earlier if how long you'd been doing this, but I think what I really want to know is how did you even get started? Now, is this your profession? Like, was this something you did? Is this something you stumbled into
So
out
I
of your
remember when they
career?
brought the first computer into my high school, right? And I didn't need a training. I'm someone that it just picked it up naturally, right? Like I remember sitting there with the teacher, like, no, no, you got to do it like this. And like I didn't know how to, you just kind of it just came naturally, right?
Right.
So I've always loved technology. I've always been into it. Never like really studied it formally. I worked in human services for most of my life. But what happened was when my kids started playing more and more sports, it was around the same time that my wife became disabled, and her disabilities kind of gotten worse over the years. And it got to the point where she couldn't be at their games. Some days she can barely get out of bed. And so it started off with me filming games as a way so that she could experience that with them and she could watch online after. And then it sort of grew from there. So they start off with my cell phone, and I was like, well, wait a minute, I can't see what's going on, 100 yards away. So then I found that local public television stations, if you ask them, they will loan you some of their gear and teach you how to use it. And then the trade-off is then that you let them put that programming on their channel. And so that's how I started. And then I found out like I wanted like more than one camera going at a time. So I would go to a number of different public television stations and borrow a camera from each and set them up and then do the live switching between, multiple angles. And they kind of taught, and then other families saw, and they're like, oh, we want to watch that too. So instead of just showing it to at home on our TV, I started, well, maybe I could put this on YouTube. And
Yeah.
and then people saw that, and then schools were like, "Oh, will you follow our team? Will you follow our kid?" And I just thought, wow, maybe there's a business here, but um, I don't know. Like I've, like I don't pay myself at all for any. This is all I've been doing all this for volunteer. I'd love it if someday this could be like a full-time job running this organization, but right now I'm just trying to make it happen, right? And we'll figure the rest out later.
Well, I think that's remarkable, and kudos to you. A big thumbs up, and anybody out there listening too, especially the kids. That sometimes if you have something you're really interested in, you just sort of have to find the way through. And I want to reiterate, you had said it earlier, because obviously you're always looking for volunteers, but or people that want to get in touch with you. And of course, you're a nonprofit. So anyone that wants to support your work, we encourage you to visit TecGym, TecGym.net, because like I said earlier, the three of us spent quite a bit of time sort of getting to know you, and there are clips on there. As I mentioned at the top, the pop-up grant that you're receiving is courtesy of our partnership with Whelen Engineering, and they establish funds to support pop-up grants in Connecticut and in the New Hampshire region, the Vermont, where their sites are. Any messages for Whelen Engineering or John or both that about your pop-up grant and your nomination?
Well, super grateful to Johnny, and he actually helps to volunteer because his kid is one of the students that we follow. So he filmed a volleyball game just the other day, and he's been involved in some softball stuff, and he actually writes his own music too. And so we've used some of his music as the intro for some of the games, and he's volunteered to share that. So thanks to Johnny for thinking of us for this, and thanks to Whelan for supporting local nonprofits and making stuff like this possible. It's very generous and always appreciate an organization that wants to give back to the community.
Well, we give them a big round of applause and a big shout out because we appreciate all they do, both in both the regions where they have sites, and it's always wonderful to see a business that looks to their team members and their communities to find out what's going on, and that's what these are for. Will, any other last thoughts, comments, calls to action to your community or anyone else watching?
Well, thanks to you guys for putting this whole thing together. I appreciate that. As much as I'm a Springfield community member, and I'm all about Go Cosmos. A big shout out to the Claremont community too, where Whelan is located, because I don't know if you heard, but their whole athletic program and their whole school year was in danger earlier, and they've really rallied as a community to come together and make that possible. And there's some local organizations that have put some money to making sure that those programs still get to go on, and they've done a great bit of community fundraising. And I'm looking forward to getting over and filming some of their athletics too, and just supporting that community.
No, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you for sharing that. I really. Well, thanks so much. This has been a lot of fun getting to know you, and we wish you the best, and we'll keep an eye out for you in case you are visiting games down in our neck of the
We
woods.
do get down to Connecticut. I was at
That you do.
Mohegan Sun last summer. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sure that was a lot of fun.
it was.
That's a great place. Well, thank you so much, Will. It's been a joy.
Thank you.